Okay, good morning. Welcome to the FCCJ. I'm Andy Sharp. I work at Nikkei Asia. Just a quick small point before we start. The notice of the release here calls it the government in exile. The NUG would prefer that we didn't use that term because the acting president, prime minister, and other ministers remain inside Myanmar, so they prefer terms such as parallel government or waiting government or similar terms rather than government in exile. Okay, so as you are aware, in 2021 there was a military coup in Myanmar, and the democratically elected lawmakers who were ousted after the coup have formed a parallel government known as the National Unity Government, or the NUG. It includes representatives of the National League for Democracy, the party of the deposed former state councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, ethnic minority groups, and various minor parties. Entities such as the European Union have recognised the NUG as the legitimate government of the country. Zin Mar Aung is the NUG's foreign minister. She's currently in Japan on the first visit here by a senior NUG official. This week she's met Japanese lawmakers, among other people, and has urged Japan to increase diplomatic and economic pressure on Myanmar's military in coordination with ASEAN in a bid to end the junta's brutal rule. The call comes right now, as you may be seeing in the news, as ethnic minority groups in the northeast of the country are launching an unprecedented offensive against the military. And insurgents in other border areas are joining in and posing the biggest challenge to the junta since the coup. The coordinated resistance attacks appear to be re-energizing pro-democracy forces such as the NUG. But enough from me, and I'll give you the floor to Zin Mar Aung, who will speak for about 20 minutes, and then we'll take your questions. Okay, over to you.
Thank you so much. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. And actually Tokyo is not strange for me because I have been here for a few times under a different title. But this is my first trip as NUG, National Unity Government Foreign Minister. I would like to express that the NUG and the people of Myanmar highly value the ties of friendship, mutual understanding, and cooperation that Japan and Myanmar have enjoyed over the course of many years. Taking this opportunity, I would like to share about my trip to Japan briefly. I have met with the deputy speakers of National Diet and members of parliaments and expressed our sincere gratitude for the unwavering support of the National Diet and the people of Japan to the people of Myanmar who are suffering every day at the hands of the military junta. It is also a pleasure for me to be here today to amplify the voice and the aspirations of the people of Myanmar who are suffering and struggling under the brutal military dictatorship. One of the reasons I'm here in Tokyo is that to talk about Myanmar current political update and which is carried by the resilience of the people and aspiration of the people for their democratic future. And another reason is to meet and greet with Myanmar diaspora and to appreciate the role that they are playing in this revolution. So, actually, in the early weeks after the coup, the people of our cities, our towns, our villages and countrysides, with one voice, they said no. This rejection of the junta coup is not driven only by the democratic, political and civil activists. It was still nationwide rejections coming from all social and professional groups, civil servants, medical workers, teachers, female textile factory workers, and even rural workers took all streets to protest attempted military coup. The spontaneous and mass-scale rejections of the junta was also generational uprising of our teenagers and students of our Generation Z. Actually, half of Myanmar population is under the age of 30. They have been promising future for themselves during the democratic transitions, and they have been and still are determined not to let military take that future away from them. So this rejection of the junta coup also united the many ethnic groups across my country in unifying vision of the federal democratic state. This rejection and these visions unite us still. It is important to add that people of my country rejected attempted coup with disciplined, non-violent protests and civil disobedience, which led for months. However, the military killed and intensified violence and brutality by killing unarmed protesters or by arresting thousands of them and severely torturing them in detention centers. We faced choice to either succumb to Myanmar Aung's ugly dictatorships and let the country and its people be raped for the enriching of the military elites, or to defend ourselves and our belief in another future, a better future, a future in which the people are sovereign. People of my country made decision to defend themselves against military's war of terror. So that was not decision of one or another political leadership group. This was collective decision of the whole nation. Now, nearly 3 years on from that coup, I am here to tell you that we have not been crushed and defeated, that we are successfully pushing military from more and more territory, and that we still believe. In fact, we know that Myanmar will be free, and the people will be in charge of our own affairs in a decentralized and federal democracy. So out of this confidence has come the resilience that is seen as through years of military violence, of airborne assault on our hospital, our schools, of dispositions and murder. The people of Myanmar have been stripped of the protection of law. The military have hanged those they dislike for no other crime than for the believing in freedom. They choose every day to reject international law and the values of a civilized society. We have endured years of military violence, so that is why now dislocations of more than 2 million people from their homes, and we are still resilient and determined not to give up, and confident that we will prevail because we are driven by the will of the people. After ruthless violence, numerous atrocities and crimes, the junta controls actually less than 40% of the rural territory, and very recently it has started to lose the control over the first cities. It faces determined armed resistance across the country. Defections from the military and police are occurring at all levels, a sign of the deep discontent. This military junta does not have control over most of the state's territory. It commands no consent from the bulk of the population. It cannot have any reasonable expectancy of permanence. It has failed every humanitarian and even legal test. The junta cannot even control the spread of human trafficking that is feeding the scam activities that are taking place within Myanmar. So which is NUG one of the first priority even under very difficult circumstance to protect and to address that the transitional crimes and human traffickings and that kind of issues. These crimes are greatly to the detriment of our neighbors and increase the suffering of our people. So, but military attempted coup is now being undone by the people. This is being achieved through our application of policies ordered towards revolutionary change. This includes continuous diplomatic pressure to isolate the junta. It includes cutting the junta from the international sources of revenue upon which its war machines depend. It includes enabling our humanitarian, health, and education services to expand as the junta destroys those human services that it might have used for the good of the people. Above all, we are succeeding through the military actions of our partners, actually ethnic partners in this revolutionary war. As has been made clear in public statements, these offenses are ordered towards eradicating these military dictatorships. This is the aspiration shared by the whole populations of Myanmar. It unites us in one shared purpose. You will all have seen the impact of this latest offensive across our country. Large numbers of junta soldiers are rightly and properly surrendering in the face of these coordinated actions. Those junta troops deceived by Min Aung Hlaing and his commanders will be treated respectfully according to the international humanitarian law. In the same way, we always respect the safety of diplomatic and international humanitarian staff. This is a shared commitment across all of our partners and has been effective in ensuring that UN and INGO staff were able to leave Loikor last few weeks, thanks to the interim Executive Council of Karenni States, which is emerging executive committee, bottom-up emergence of the administrative council based on our control. And with the revolutionary and civil society organization working on the ground, we are substituting and the local administrations in order to bring and make sure the rule of law in our control area. The National Unity Government, in close collaboration with its partners across the states and region, is now delivering as much humanitarian support as we can. And we are also working to build up health and education services in anticipation of increased need. We seek actually your help from Japan and also, of course, from the international donors and friendly country in this humanitarian response. You will have seen renewed call for aid from many parts of our country. We ask the international community to respond immediately to the growing needs of displaced people across Myanmar. While we focus on our life-saving work, we are also preparing for the transition to civilian rule. The principles that inform this transition are in Myanmar. We are committed to a future in which all people have an equal voice and in which stability, the rule of law, and respect for international treaty replace the junta's current chaos. Only chance to end this violence and chaos and in order to bring civilians and democratic rules in my country is for current junta to be removed. This is what we are fighting for, and this is the ground that we are working on, and then they are ready. Actually, military junta is ready to fall. The only question is how long it will take for this to happen, and how much more damage and suffering junta will be unable to inflict through the passivity and inactions of our friendly and democratic countries. So to raise the voice and to share what is happening on the ground, I am here to meet with the Japanese government officials, parliamentarians, civil society workers, and civil society organizations and advocacy groups, of course, in the journalists here in Japan. So this is the time for revolutionary change. Myanmar Online knows this, and the people demand it, and I am here to amplify that demand, and your support for the people's cause is greatly appreciated. And thank you so much, and I welcome the question.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so now it's time for Q&A. As you can see, we have no interpreter today, so please, this will just be conducted in English. I don't trust my translation skills. So yeah, please raise your hands. We have some online questions as well. Raise your hands and give your name and affiliation. This gentleman here.
My name is Shigefumi Kitagawa from the Tokyo Shimbun newspaper, a daily newspaper, a Japanese daily newspaper. Could you please explain in detail what you would like Japan to do for Myanmar people, for Myanmar democracy? For example, targeted sanctions or a project completely.
Yes.
And now one more question. A lot of Japanese people support the democratic movement in Myanmar. However, there are some Japanese who are close to the high-ranking members of the Myanmar military. For example, Japan-Myanmar Association Chairman, Mr. Watanabe, the Nippon Foundation, Mr. Sasagawa. It seems that they have an opinion that the next general election should be held as soon as possible, even under the SAC. Could you please let me know your impressions of their actions, of their behavior after the coup in 2021? And do you have any plans to talk with them or contact them? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your questions. Yeah, this is also an issue, and one of the reasons I am here, because the Japanese government officials and the people, like you mentioned, need to know more about what is really happening on the ground. What are the aspirations of people? Because I have learned that during the time of the liberalization process under the quasi-civilian government, the Japanese government foreign policy is based on the national reconciliations, to support national reconciliations in Myanmar. But after the attempted military coup in 2021, the situations, on the ground situations, rule of the game is totally changed. So that is why it's old and the Japanese foreign policy is not relevant on current Myanmar situation. So this is what I would like to say and deliver the message to the Japanese government. The way they approach in all way is not relevant to what is happening on the ground in current situation in Myanmar. And another thing is that elections. Actually, when we look back to the rationale and the reason that military junta gave is that about the elections, about 2020 election. Actually, Japanese government itself, the person you mentioned, a witness of the 2020 election, which is free and fair. If so, why? Why they are now accepting and advocating for the new elections by the military junta, which is widely, refused and against by the people of Myanmar. So, in order to talk about the elections, majority of the people, the whole nations, will not see election as the way out to stop that violence and to bring the national reconciliations and to bring peace. We don't believe the elections organized and held by the military junta is not appropriate. They don't have the right to convince and organize the free and fair elections. And another question is that if they try to hold the elections, which grounds, on which rules? For example, like we are not going back to the end of the 2008 Constitution. 2008 Constitution is already abolished after the military coup. So that is why election is not the way out for the solutions. Election is not the proper solutions, sustainable solution for our political problem and crisis. We also have our own political roadmap, which is not an election first, which is political dialogue and to remove military dictatorship first. And then we will have the new constitutions. That is what we are working together with other different stakeholders. And then during, based on that new constitution, there will be elections. That kind, without a political dialogue, without a political settings and without new ground rules, I think the election will not be workable for us.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up. Have you had a chance on this visit to meet with senior lawmakers such as the Prime Minister or Foreign Minister, or even senior officials at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
I've met some senior officials of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I also share the update information, and I also share about our positions on, of course, the ODA projects, and of course the kinds of the humanitarian assistance needed, and also the I've learned that the Japanese government is one of the main donors of the UN agency. So how UN agency are engaging in our country, and what kind of assistance we need. The way they approach is not very much effective in order to have effective humanitarian support for the people on the ground. So that is why we also advocate and we also share our mechanism already set up along with our and to consider alternative way of supporting the humanitarian assistance effectively.
Thank you. Any other questions in the room? Yes, please. You have a question? Okay, so you first and then you.
Hi, my name is Peter Morris. I'm a lawyer, but sometimes I write for Asia Times about Myanmar. So the question is, now that it seems like we're in kind of like a new phase of the revolution, there's going to be more and more Burmese military soldiers surrendering, and probably more and more people joining the CDM movement. So I'm just wondering, like, what kind of plan does the NUG have for all these people in terms of like their security and like necessities, I guess, humanitarian aid and stuff for them? So for example, like I remember reading something which said one of the ethnic groups when they captured some Burmese military soldiers, we take care of them, etc., and then they gave them some money for a bus ride home thing. And then more pertinent to your position, I guess, would be like, let's say there are high-profile CDM people, such as I think last week there was a press conference with the former police captain job. He says he's worried about his family in Thailand because the regime really wants to get them, because he does a lot of like recruiting, basically encouraging people to join CDM, and has been advocating for democracy within the police since before the coup. So he's worried about his family in Thailand. So I'm just wondering, like, does the NUG Foreign Ministry, do you guys talk about these kinds of things, like resettlement, for example, with foreign countries? Like he says, do you talk about these things with foreign countries? Thank you.
Country to receive as a political refugees and asylum seeker, and we even also talk to the Thai government to at least not to send back a refuge of the Thailand activists and CDM and severe situations. So that is why we regularly communicate with the Thailand government, even though they are not properly respond to our request, but at least we are communicating and sending that kind of message and pardon, not to send back at least, and to protect on the humanitarian ground. This is what we are working, and at the same time we also request the third country to bring those people as quickly as they can. So through our representative office, even sometimes through our Burmese community, putting pressure to those government. This is what we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the lady at the back there.
Thank you so much for having me. Now, I'm from NHK and cover his map, and I'd like to ask two questions. Maybe following the previous questions, but first one is, what is missing, do you think, to be recognized as So what is missing, the crucial point, to be recognized as legitimate government from the international communities, of course, including Japan. Japan is still not least. So, and then second one is the aftermath of the 1027 operation. So, what is the reaction from the neighboring countries, especially China, India, and the Thai, and because some media criticize about it because the ultimate goal of NUG and the other ethnic minority groups are different. So it's going. What's next like? So what do you think about it? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. First question on the recognition is actually since from the day one we formed the committee representing Pirazu Pluto, which is based on the 2020 election result. The majority of that member of parliament are elected member of parliament, and then based on that result, we formed the National Unity Government. It is a combination of de facto and de jure legitimacy, and we also request and demand to recognize as the legitimate government of people of Myanmar. But at the same time, the response that I received from the countries is that they are not, recognizing and engaging the government. They are recognizing the states. It is based on the international relations and international law. This is the response that we got from the foreign countries, even the friendly democratic countries. But at the same time, so we change our approach. Okay, of course, we are not trying to be, if you are not able to recognize as a legitimate government, but at least you need to recognize as the legitimate voice of the people of Myanmar, legitimate representative of the people of Myanmar. This is what we are advocating for, and on this ground we are positively respond from the international community and also the friendly, democratically friendly government. And the second question is about the 1027 operation skills. Actually, this operation is not just only the military operations. Before that operations, NUG have the 1-year plan, which is including political visions, and we also share our political vision to our Ethnics Alliance and exchange our opinions and a lot of debate, and we also receive their suggestions. So this operation is actually not just only for the military goal. Actually, we have some agreements politically. For example, like each and every ethnic organizations and the people don't accept the military coup to end the military dictatorships. This is our common goal politically. But at the same time, of course, in order to build and in order to form the federal democratic country, there are different patterns and different dimensions, and so we still need to discuss, and we have the political dialogue platform like a National Unity Consultative Council, which is the multi actors platform, but we also have the bilateral the engagements and dialogue platform with each and every ethnic organization. This is what we are working on.
You already have a charter
Yes.
to be legitimate and to be recognized as a legitimate government. And did you get feedback from the international community from which country you are consulting about?
On charter?
Yes, I've read about it, but it's really ideal.
Yes. Actually, the Federal Democracy Charter is very much authentic and homegrown because no international experts. One we drafted and one we discussed and debate to have that Federal Democracy Charter, which is only our stakeholders, not even supported by the international community. But after the agreement, we just launched and publicized the Federal Democracy Charter and introduced to the international community and of course other political actors.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Okay, John, then we'll go to an online question.
Thank you. John Getty from Reuters. My question is related to the last one, but I was just wondering if you could give us, maybe some more specific examples. But, how have the successes of the recent resistance attacks have they had any impact on how countries have engaged with the NUG? And specifically, countries like India and China, have you had any further engagement with them, given, the recent events? Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I also missed the question even back then. Thank you so much for your follow-up question. Yes, after the 1027 operations, many countries, including our neighboring countries, are very much interested, and they are wondering which is separate operations or which is the coordinated and actions along with the NUG and others alliance. So this is what they would like to know, and they are very much interested in. So we actually explained that this operation is like a result of the coordinations between the NUGs and ethnic organizations as an alliance. So I would say that more and more countries are surprised and interested in why and how it is happen, and of course what will be next. So yeah, we are receiving very much interested questions and engagements from the neighboring country and of course the international community.
Just to follow up there, so I'm hearing from my colleagues in Bangkok that the Thai government is very worried about a big influx of refugees from Myanmar, given the current unrest or fighting there. Have you been speaking with the Thai Foreign Ministry, and what is the situation between the two countries, and how willing is Thailand to accept potential, hundreds of, tens of thousands, possibly, of refugees?
Yes, I will say that the Thai government is quite hesitant to engage with us. But at the same time, we also thank to them because of the receiving that refugees and the people who are suffering. So we always express our gratitude and heartfelt thanks to the Thai government. But at the same time, Thai government need to engage with us in order to address that kind of issues and their concern. Without communications and without proper communications and without consulting and with us, it is very difficult to work together to solve of that problem and difficulties. So I will say we don't have proper communication and consultation from the Thai government yet.
Thank you. Okay, question from online. It's from a freelancer called Fred Varco. He's kind of putting across the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, is Myanmar in danger of becoming a failed state like Libya? And potentially a best case scenario, Myanmar, he says, has the potential to become a major tourist destination. Do you see Myanmar becoming the new Thailand? And is the tourist infrastructure in Myanmar up to receiving millions of people every year?
Thank you. I think that this the two scenario is not quite.
Not my question.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Not quite relevant. The first state is quite based on what is happening and totally how can we, manage and engage current situation, how much we are able to unify the different stakeholders. And the other thing is that it is based on tourism is totally, if there is no political solutions, if there is no stability, if there is no democracy, I think there is no more tourist destinations for the destination like Thailand. But what we are trying to do is that not just only to be a tourist destination, but also to bring freedom, democracy, and human rights back to our country, and which will guarantee development and sustainable economic investment. So that will definitely contribute to one of the best tourist destinations in the region.
Okay, thank you. Another question here, it's from Justin McCurry at The Guardian. He's pointing to some recent cases of foreign media going to Myanmar, meeting with the junta. He asks, how is the junta using foreign media and individual journalists to counter negative international coverage of human rights abuses? Do you think the junta's use of these reporters is working?
Thank you. Very initial stages of the military coup, they also invited, I remember that CNN, but it didn't work actually to support their propaganda but what they are now doing is they are not using free media actually, free and independent media. What they are using is misinformation and disinformation campaign to distribute the misinformation to the world and disinformations and increasing mistrust among the community and society. This is what they are doing. Actually, military junta is not believe in free media. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions from inside the room? Yes.
Hello, this is Takumi Kobayashi from Nikkei newspaper. And I have one question about the recent developments and your goals regarding your fight against the junta. So so as far as I remember, you mentioned that that 40% of the rural areas are under control of the junta, but they are also losing lots of support and losing their territories as well. So how do you evaluate the progress? And if you have any numerical goals that you want to achieve, either in short term or in long term, please share it with us, if that's possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Actually, I just estimated the statistic, because the statistic on the ground is getting increasing, and also we can also share with some statistic from our Ministry of Defense and Ministry of Home Affairs. This is just estimate. Even in our control area now, the Myanmar Economic Banks, some of the Myanmar Economic Banks in Colin we can control, and also some private banking sectors are in our control, in our control area. So that is why the statistic is still growing, and a little bit still difficult to make the accurate information. But we can also share with you the estimated information based on our battles and the frequency, and also the preparations of the local governance and administration.
Thank you.
So could you tell us some of these statistics, please? Maybe some reporters may be interested
Yeah.
in hearing what you have.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, these statistics are based on our each and every ministry's services. For example, like from the Ministry of Defense, we also have some recorded of the arrested, and the frequency of the artillery bombing and arsons and murdering, so that kind of statistics. And also we also have some information about the IDP's numbers, sources of based on the each and every month. We have the some statistic, and also number of killed by the military junta, based on each and every states and divisions, and also our humanitarian affairs and disaster management ministry, and the amount and they are providing the humanitarian assistance. And of course we also make data collections on how many civilians has been killed, and what kind of civilian properties has been destroyed. So that kind of statistics we have, but at the same time we are providing the humanitarians and public service assistance to those who are establishing our own administration. So based on that statistics, we can also share, but it is not updated information. Yes, and then another thing is that we can also make a measurement, like we have the fundraising program, like NUG Pay, and we also have the total NUG Bill user account is 28,000 users are now opening NUG Pay account. So what does that show is that we are not just only fighting militarily against, but also in setting up the economic infrastructure and public service. So that is what we are serving as the people's government.
So this data is from the Humanitarian Data Exchange?
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yes, please, Kitazumi-san.
My name is Yuki Kitazumi. Thank you for today. I have a question about the situation in Funta. In the couple of months, the high-rank officials were arrested. For example, the ex-Minister of Home Affairs, and also the Myanmar, top of the Myanmar Investment Committee was also arrested. I want to ask you, your analysis, what is happening inside of the military junta? Yeah, so they have the power tournament about this regime itself or something. Please show us that your opinion about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. What does this show is that even within the military junta and FCC, they are getting pressure, and some of, actually not some, many of their officials are realized that this military coup is not even protect and prevent their own interests. So that is one reason. And then another reason is that they are questioning the leadership of the Myanmar. So that is why I'm taking the reason is that like unreasonable reason of the corruptions and taking down the position. Actually, corruption is everybody is committing that kind of corruption. It is just a reason. But actually, what does that show is that friction between and men themselves, and also they don't even believe and trust each other.
Can you just to follow up very slightly differently, but can you give us a realistic scenario? Obviously, we're seeing the military, the junta, struggling, the Tatmadaw struggling right now. Do you see what's the kind of realistic scenario or time frame when for Myanmar to return to a civilian government?
Yeah, what we are struggling and working at is that as quick as we can, we would like to bring civilian government back to our country. So what I am hoping, and I think realistic time frame is a little bit difficult to talk, but I hope and I believe that it will be very soon. It will be a process will start soon. But in order to bring fully democratically civilian government, it takes it will be the median times of the median time frame. I think this is what I estimate, and because it will take a very practical works and political dialogue and discussion we need to go through, because what I believe is that not just only topple down that SAC is not simply bring back the democracy, but we need to be a process.
And you had the, obviously you were under Aung San Suu Kyi, along with some of the military generals, you were returning to some kind of democracy, and then the elections happened and then the coup. How do you prevent, once you return back to civilian government, how do you prevent there not being another coup by the military?
Yes.
That to me seems a fundamental question for you.
Thank you, exactly. Thank you for your question. So that is why we are now preparing for the new constitution, which is based not based on the 2008 constitutions, which will be based on the military must be under the democratic civilian control, and military do not participate in politics. Military institution should be the professional. So that is why the first and the most important issue we need to address is that security sector reform, and then which will be guaranteed in the new constitution. Because if there is no constitutional guarantee, there will be more and more the military coup after coup. So that is why we are preparing for the new constitution.
Any more questions from the room? Yes, please.
This is June from TV Tokyo. So my English is very poor, so you may already spoke. In the future, in your final goal, how will Japan relate the detail, please? Do you understand?
Can you say that again, please?
In the future, in your final goal, how Japan relate to Myanmar?
Okay, so the relationship between Japan and in the role of the NUG becoming the government of Myanmar?
Yeah, government in this. end of second question。それと逆に近々の課題で特に日本に求めることは先ほどは答えたと思うんですけど、日本にしかできないものっていうのはありますか？
Is there anything that only Japan can do for Myanmar?
Thank you.
Thank you.
As I said before, Myanmar, the relationship between Myanmar and Japan is before independent actually. So I also request the Japanese government. You know, the Japanese government and the military relationship is since before our independence. Even one of the founding father of the military was here. In Japan to form the military to fight against colonialism. But this time, I think and I believe Japan can help us to reform the military to be a professional military. So I think this is the only Japan can do to make a new history like a previous before the independent the struggle. Thank you.
But there have been reports that Japan has been training some of the hunter soldiers. Can you respond to that?
Yes, that is why I also request that. It is not a success story, and actually it is not a good example. The Japan followed. I think so. That is why Japanese government should review their engagement with the military junta, and then the way they approach. And if I do believe that the Japanese government and Japanese people are quite familiar and willingness to support and help our people and our country. The only thing that they need is that they need to review to reflect the voice of the people of Myanmar.
Okay, thank you. We've got about 5 minutes left, so any questions from the floor? Follow-up questions? Yes, Nita-san.
Good morning, ma'am. Thank you very much. My name is Yuichi Nita from Nikkei, or Nikkei. My question is, you mentioned a little bit about the political dialogue when you're talking about the future plan. And does that mean you might include somebody from the SSC side, or that's more like with the EAOs and the democratic forces that you're now engaging with? Because I feel like a bit new for you that mentioned that some sort of dialogue with the military, because initially that it's maybe too early to do that among the fighting or the human rights abuse actually happening in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the reason why I talk about dialogue is that I would like to express our willingness. We are not just only using the military will, but we are using impossible means in order to stop military coup and in order to bring democracy back to our country. So what we are currently doing is with our federal and democratic partners, especially with ethnic organizations and political forces, because as you already noticed that our country is very much diverse, and very much the different opinion on state building, especially on federalization process, is a little bit challenging for us, even though we have agreement on principle. But what kind of federal and the pattern of federalization pattern is, there are many options. So we need to discuss and debate on that option. So that is why we need, even under that kind of very difficult circumstance, we need to have the dialogue among our alliance and different democratic and federal stakeholders. One thing. So principally, we are not refusing dialogue. We do understand that dialogue is the one of the way to solve the problems and to find the solutions. But with SAC, it is too early to use the words dialogue, because they don't even stop fighting against their own people. They are still arresting the political prisoners, and of course now still doing the aerial bombing, even now more using the weapons provided by the Russia, So without stopping and without changing within their own institutions, it is still difficult to use the words dialogue. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're just about done there. Just quick question, I'm sure as everyone's interested. Any latest reports on the well-being of Aung San Suu Kyi?
Not actually latest report, because he is not allowed to meet with, with not even with her lawyers. So, but an official, and we have some information. She is in good health, apart from her toothache last few weeks ago, but now she is getting better. Her mental situations and her belief is still strong.
Okay, if there's no more questions from the floor, we'll wrap this up here. Zin Mar Aung, thank you so much for your time, and we'll bring this to a close. Thank you very much.
I will give it to you, yes.
You sure?
Yes.
Great, great.
That's
Very
lovely.
helpful.
Yes. But I just wanted to some statistics, because statistics are going on the ground.
Yeah, sure.